Talk about the Pistons, man, playing with house money. They playing with house money. Even CJ, what's house money? It's like basically you go to the casino, you take 50. Now you got. Let's just say you turn 50 into 300. So the 250 is the money that the profit that you won. So you up 250. So now you playing with $250 that you just won at the casino. You can go home, get your corned beef sandwich, or you can gamble it, try to turn it to 500 to 100,000, whatever you want to do. But the Pistons are in a particular position where they can do a lot right now. Even if they lose this series to Cleveland, which they very may will, there's so many ways they can take this. And I'm going to talk about during in another video, right? About playoff performance and can he grow from this. So we was having a conversation at the gym this morning about it. But they can do a lot of things with this roster. And it's very critical this offseason how they can finesse it and how they work it, or they can finesse this roster. My only constants, because let me say this, it's been so many things, so many times that organizations have banked on players to develop and they haven't developed. They don't develop at the same rate that players used to develop back in the day. But, I'm of the belief Trajan Langdon has seen enough. I believe he's seen enough. And I believe we at a crossroad where I think you know exactly what you want to put around Kay Cunningham. I know exactly what you want to put around Isaiah Stewart. I think you know. I'm not a Stewart, but a Sword Thompson. I think you know exactly what it is. I think the only hard players to move in this particular series, in this team, the only players you don't really want to move is Asar, Kay, and if you can, Danish Jenkins. And I say because Danish Jenkins is cheap and it's a lot of room for growth. But at this point, I believe Isaiah Stewart has showed that he's expendable. Only reason you probably won't say because of the injury, and he's how good defensively he is, that might be a guy that you want to keep. I'll throw him in the mix to be kept, right? But now I believe you're in a position to really make monstrous moves. Now, personally, you're like, well, who would you not move? Obviously, Kay, Asar, and I would like to keep Duncan Robinson. And I know how y'all feel about Duncan, but we ain't in no position to get rid of no fucking shooting, respectfully. We not in that position. But them the only ones, Thompson, Robinson, and Cunningham, right? And I was thinking, and people call me crazy, I kind of been following the NBA Combine thanks to X. If you're a content creator or a person, you ain't on X, you're really missing out. Hey, man, I'm going to get Darius Acuff. Whoever, he's supposed to be go top 7. If I can holler at the Clippers, but really the Clippers got Garland and Benedict Mathurin, I'm willing to go get Darius Acuff. I'll give up that 20th or 18th pick they got. I'm willing to give up anybody else. I'm willing to get Darius Acuff. I just need to check out background wise. How can we, make sure he good playing at the crib and the character of him, and how can we support him and not kind of succumb to him playing in Detroit? I'm going to get Acuff. I ain't even bullshitting with you. I'm going to get Acuff. I feel like that's the perfect guard. That's a perfect guard to put next to Kay Cunningham, and a perfect guard to be next to Kay Cunningham. He's 6'3", basically 6'3" with shoes, 6'2". He the height that he had. Bro, what are you doing? The height that he had, is not taller. He's 6 foot. He was 6'2.5" without shoes. I'm going to get that. I'm putting that explosive boy next to Cade. And at the end of the day, I'm rolling that. But in general, that's a pipe dream, right? I don't think they got the balls to do it. And then also him being close to the crib is wild. But in general, they can mold it however. But if you go get Giannis, and I did a video, I'm not gonna be long with it on this, will be very short. If you go get Giannis, you got to make more moves. You go get marketing, or Trey Murphy. Trey Murphy is probably ideal. You don't lose nothing defensively. You don't lose nothing defensively Offensively, he's pretty good. I mean, Trey Murphy is ideal, but at that point, if you get the 4, let's say you go get a 4, right? At that point, you got a couple options that you got to be able to move around, right? So if you go get Marketing, you go get Murphy, whoever you want, right? At that 4 spot. Now, you know, do you have enough left over to add a wing? And then also, are you able to get Malik Beasley back? That's the $1 million question. So whatever that Marketing or Murphy deal look like, do you have enough to say, hey, Dallas, we want to get Kyrie Irving? You know, we willing to get Kyrie Irving. What it's going to cost? And it shouldn't be extremely high. It shouldn't be extremely high. You know, 3 first-round picks. I don't know what I will tell you about Utah. They will probably go want to start Thompson or Ron Holland. Right? They probably gonna want that in the deal. That's fine, honestly. I think that's perfectly fine. If you can get Ron Holland, I would say Ron Holland's Karis LeVert to make the contract work. Probably gonna be Isaiah Stewart in that deal. Bare minimum, and probably the first round pick this year, and probably 2 first round picks going forward. That's gonna be that. All right. Now, the next tier, you got a couple options. All right, you got a couple options. You be like, okay, what is the next options? Now, you can just, try to sign somebody, or you can try to go get a DeMar DeRozan, a Zach LaVine. It shouldn't cost you nothing. Match some contracts up, But the thing about that is, if you go get Marketing and LaVine, that could be 2 defensive liabilities. If you go get Trey Murphy, because Kyrie will play defense if you ask him to. When they will play Harden again in Brooklyn, he locked Harden the fuck up. Kyrie can play defense. I think they can get him to play defense. But that's kind of how you really pretty much looking at it. So you can say, hopefully Beasley come back. Beasley, Duncan, Danis. You keep them 3. You keep B-Ball, Paul. You probably find another 5, right? Somehow you swing Marketing or old buddy. Marketing in or Murphy or somebody similar. Most likely you probably keep Duran. If you can keep Asar Thompson, so be it. You might be able to swap Asar Thompson for Kyrie Irving. Straight up. Maybe you can make something else work outside of that. But anything outside of with Kyrie Irving is probably going to involve picks, absorbing that salary cap, and they probably going to want a guy like Dennis Jenkins. But in reference to that, and then you probably can keep Tobias at the 3. Move him to the 3. I don't know. Marketing, Tobias, Duran, Cade, and Asar, that can work. But honestly, if you asking me, I'm going to get A-Cuff. I'm sorry. But if you ask me in reality, how am I moving? And if we living in reality, Marketing Murphy, and I'm targeting Kyrie. And if I can't get Kyrie and I don't have enough assets to get him, then I'm looking at, LaVine. I'm looking to go get LaVine. I can deal with him not being the winner. I think JB Bickerstaff can get LaVine to defend. And, that's how I'm rocking. But that's just my opinion on it. And I know it's going to be hard to do a sign and trade for Tobias if it's somewhere he don't want to go. So I think he stay. I think he needs to be in that locker room, especially if a Kyrie Irving come in there or they get funky and want to get a KD in that locker room. You need Tobias to keep it together. He like the egg and the meatloaf or the macaroni and cheese that you bake. Hit the link in the description. Follow me everywhere. Check out Detroit Pistons Talk playlist. Peace.